Hello and welcome to ThetaTalk second episode, your go-to podcast for exploring the newest trends and technology shaping the field of financial crime compliance. Join us as we delve into the powerful connection between AI, machine learning, and financial crime compliance. I'm David Gottlieb, your host, and I work on the banking team at ThetaTalk, focusing on FCC with large banking accounts. And at ThetaTalk, our aim is straightforward: to support compliant business growth while helping our customers to fight and combat financial crime. And today, I'm honored and thankful to have a great colleague and friend with us to join this ThetaTalk, Shay Dovev, SVP Strategic Account at ThetaTalk, who is challenging the financial crime compliance at banks, at tier one banks, right?
Yes. Hello,
welcome,
David.
Shay.
Hello, David. Thank you for having me here. It's a great honor as well.
I will enjoy the next 20 minutes, and I hope so you too. So, Shay, before we talk about your background, your experience, let's start with the why actually we are here today. Financial crime compliance is a crucial point at bank, not only bank, but in general, right? Banks are facing today quite a lot of challenging around this important topic. It's like more restrictive and complex regulations, the balancing between customer experience and compliance, fintechs who start to enter into the market, limited resources to take care of this complex constellation of fighting financial crime, complex customer data, and then, of course, also the criminals who are using more and more AI technology, and we have to find solution to fight this kind of threat. Did I forget some kind of threat from your point of view?
No, I think you said it all. Basically, it's the situation of the market, first of all. It's what there is outside to combat financial crimes at first glance. Second thing is basically what the criminals actually do, okay? They're much more sophisticated than years ago. And the third pillar that you said is that a lot of competition to banks, especially in the cross-border payments, is going inside globally right now. So the regulation is also strengthened, however, a little bit more open-minded than it was a few years ago. Yes.
So the regulation actually asking for evaluating AI technology, but don't give a clear line how to use it. That is also a topic we're going to probably discuss in one of the other Theta Talks. But I think today we understood there is challenges. There are still solutions in place which are based on rules with thresholds. And I would say there is a paradigm shift of using and exploring AI technology to actually tackle all these kind of challenges. And this is exactly the topic we're going to talk about today, because it's not anymore a buzzword, or it's not anymore kind of
Correct.
Technology.
Yes.
I think we are really in middle of this evaluation and implementing this technology. But let's go back, 10 years, 12, 13 years, I think, when ThetaTalk started with this idea of bringing trust back to the financial sector. You were, I think, one of the first employee here, right?
I was one of the first people to join the company. I think we were only a handful of people. It was around 10 and a half, 11 years. Things were totally different back then.
What was different? This is what I want to go, like technical point of view, technology-wise.
I will tackle this question from both ends. From the market, first of all, or from the bank's perspective, as far as I know, and from ThetaTalk's perspective, on the other hand. From the bank's perspective, basically, they reached to an understanding, specifically for combating financial crimes, they reached to an understanding that, first of all, it costs them too much, and the efficiency to combat financial crimes is extremely low. And in addition, basically, there was a big problem with most of the banks that we engage with, that they don't comply with the regulations, that the regulations started to change, started to be more demanding, more sophisticated because of the crimes, the financial crimes outside. On our side, as ThetaTalk, we started the company basically with a few ideas, with a few developed AI algorithms, and we try to understand where do we go to the market, which kind of clients, which kind of potential. And ideally and quite quick, we understood that the world of FCC, the financial crimes, or the financial crimes detection, basically, AML, terror financing, is a world full of potential for the AI technology. We understood two basic things when we were very young. First of all, there is no good answer for financial crimes in the world from the technology perspective. And second of all, there will be a good and big demand all across the globe for the next, we believed, at least 15 years.
And this was around 10 years, 12 years
Yes.
ago, right? So you approached, at the time, banks. Were they already aware of AI technology? Was this already a topic?
Yes and no. It was a topic, but it was an experimental topic. It wasn't considered to be a serious, I would say, technology or a serious item to really consider. So if you ask me 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that, basically the idea was that, okay, as a bank, we know that our tools today and the controls that we have are not efficient enough to do their job, first of all. But on the other hand, we need to open our eye and look at the market of, okay, what kind of alternatives for the future can we actually do? At that stage, basically, the AI was starting to emerge. It was a buzzword back then, and only, I would say, the early adopters by banks actually tried to do something with AI technology that was basically on its birth path back then. Since then, till today, the early adopters almost diminished. It starts to be a mainstream issue or a mainstream topic to implement AI for financial crimes detection.
At the time, and without really revealing any name, you are taking care of one of the biggest accounts globally, also bank-wise. If you go back, take us back at this time, how did you explain actually what ThetaTalk was doing at the time? How were you able to catch their attention at such an early stage? And then if you can compare it today, when you reach out today to a bank, which we agree that all the banks have some experience or implement some AI technology, probably rules and on this AI, supervised machine learning, whatever. Where is the differences when you approach it back then?
Well, back then, basically what we actually identified as a, I would say, common denominator for each bank to look for a new technology, for a new solution for combating financial crimes was, first of all, the efficiency of the detection, which means how accurate can you be to detect real financial crime by transactions, by screening, but you name it. Because it reflects a lot on operational costs, how much money a bank actually invests in teams, in analysts, processes, controls to actually to take the alerts which is coming from a detection system and to do something with that. Okay, the efficiency of the previous technologies back then was so low that they looked for something which is much more efficient, much more accurate to drop the false positive of the detection, to drop basically the queues and the backlogs of the alerts. This was one pillar. The second pillar, which is obvious, yes, they need to catch financial crimes. The previous tools could not detect almost anything. So when I'm thinking about most of the banks that we engaged with before ThetaTalk era, the false positive, which means an alert that is not meaningful by any sense, was almost 100% out of the big amount of the alerts that we're imagining over there. So the regulation in each country that we worked with banks basically was a little bit, I would say, concerned that banks are not doing the job properly or more efficiently. So along the years, the regulation started to, I would say, push the banks to try and encourage to find new controls in order to be more efficient and to detect specifically things that they expect to find in the data, crimes. And second of all, moreover than that, to detect more things which are unknown yet. Okay, why am I saying that? Because criminals today, and that's not a secret, they're ahead. Okay, they're running fast, they're thinking very brilliantly, they're innovative. And you cannot fight against this kind of, let's say, groups without a fine technology, a good, I would say, process or good resources. This is why they started to explore back then with the AI.
And I think also one of the results, which probably came after it, it's also that ThetaTalk understood it's not only compliant, it's really like give the banks or any financial institution the possibility to grow business and respecting the regulation and being compliant. I think this is also a shift of...
Look, there is always a bank is a business, okay?
Right.
Like everything. A bank is a business, and the business is basically to bring some more revenues to the bank, but to do it safely, without unnecessary risks, okay? So there is always some kind of a battle, like some kind of a fight between the compliance that need to basically to comply with regulations and to keep the bank as a business safe enough from financial crimes. And the other side, which is the business, which would like to onboard more products, more clients, more companies, whatever. With AI, basically, what we notice to understand is using efficiently a tool of AI for financial crimes not only, let's say, drops the risks to a bank, but also gives a lot of opportunities to create more revenues safely.
Yeah. And reaching out today to banks, talking to them, and how do you explain the technology we offer, our experience, how you approach them, what you explain them so that it fits in their vision and strategy of using AI?
The vision of banks today, while they are concerned about the current tools that they have, which are inefficient to combat financial crimes, is basically to transform the way they think, the way they act, the way they implement, and the way they use tools, people, resources, etc.
But they are using AI. You have banks today, they have AI, machine learning technology in place. So it's not that they're ignoring totally this.
They do not. They do not ignore it totally. There are all sorts of, I would say, AIs in the world. Okay, all sorts of algorithms. Each one is for a different usage, different frame, or different, I would say, silo. When a bank is trying to use AI in the most basic level, is to try basically to diminish or to shrink the number of alerts that they produce from old systems. It's a nice solution, but it won't last for more than 1 year or 2 years. That's it. And then they'll reach to the same bottleneck that they have. If a bank starts to understand that it needs to replace most of its controls for FCC with AI, it's not a patch-based one. Yeah. It should be revolutionary for them. For us, it's an evolution because we did it many times. That means that they have to find, or they need to consult with a company that is doing it for many years, to transform the processes, the workflow, the compliance thinking, and of course the technology to replace everything with an end-to-end AI solution for their needs.
It's very fascinating because actually I started, I think now 2 years ago, working with banks, and listening to you how it was 10 years ago. I don't know if it was easier to present ThetaTalk 10 years ago or it's easier today, but today where you see the challenges to talk and exchange with banks, what is it, the data they have to prepare, or is it the mindsetting of head compliance or the whole bank? Where do you see the challenges today?
Not at all. I think that if I'm looking at the past of ThetaTalk, basically, it was much more challenging to present ThetaTalk back then. Okay. We were young. The market was very young, and only early adopters considered actually to speak with companies like us. Now, the thing is that we are much more mature, not only on the technology and the offering and the products that we actually, develop here in the company, but also with our knowledge and, more important, the experience that we gathered under, I think, around 100 plus projects that we currently have in the company. What I noticed is basically that banks today are looking for technology, yes, that actually can comply and be much better than the current controls. That's fine, okay? But what I see more and more is that banks are working today. They decided to use AI first, but they will use AI only with an experienced team, with a mature technology and mature, I would say, expertise coming from the vendor side. And this is where we are right now.
And when you talk about this, you see differences in the region, jurisdictions that are working, on implementation, but also the way we work with bank. I know, for example, one of the biggest account you are taking care of, it's more a hybrid team. I don't know, you're also working in the GCC area. Yeah. Is there a different approach?
Yeah. The overall approach, now I'm generalizing, okay? Each regulation is a different regulation, basically. There are places which is much smoother, actually, to adopt AI currently because the regulators say, I encourage you, banks, to explore new technologies based on machine learning, AI, etc., which is good enough to start conversations with banks. And there are places which are not there yet, but they will be, for sure, 100%. It's like the same evolution that we had 25 years ago with rules. Now we have the same evolution right now with AI for the same reasons, but right now it's much faster, okay? Working with banks, specifically big banks, from what I noticed, one of the most efficient way to choose, to implement, and to be very accurate in the implementation itself, to put a tool of AI, is to build mutual teams, a hybrid team that will actually serve a project of an FCC. It can be transaction monitoring, can be screening, that combines both the team of ThetaTalk and both the team of the bank. It actually takes the best, I would say, experience from our side, the knowledge that we gathered, the experience, the implementations that we had, and everything we went through, and their capabilities with data analytics, data science, etc. The combination of both, actually, it's the know-how of the bank, of the exact business that they need actually to serve and to comply with the FCC tools, and our experience to implement it, to advise of how to implement it on the transformational part is crucial, and it works extremely good on different places around the world right now.
And I think also it's exactly your approach. You don't approach banks telling them, we come to replace your existing solution, forget about it. It's like more step by step. Can you refer to a use case, how this approach works?
Look, as a vendor telling, in my personal opinion, to say to a bank that, hey, you know what, step aside, we'll do the entire job, the technology, the implementation, the data engineering, the know-how, the SMEs, the expertise, it's immature. Okay, I think that it's much more accurate, reliable to say that we have to work together. There are a lot of things specifically from the business perspective that the bank knows much better than us as a vendor, okay, still, but we know how to do it together with them. This is how I approach banks today, to do it together. It's a partnership, and each project is a few years of length till full implementation if you're speaking about global bank. Now, you asked me about a specific use case, or I'd say an example of one of the implementations that we actually started in practice to work for detecting financial crimes using AI. We were, and we are still, and I'm proud that we're still working with a multinational European bank all across the globe for many, many different business lines today on multiple projects. But I do remember the first one. And the first one was that we were visiting this bank quite a few times, and we tried to find the crack where we can actually enter over there, who to talk to, about what use case, what kind of solution that they want, what kind of problem can we actually, solve. I remember that a few years ago, so the client himself, a very senior guy, came to us and said to us something like, look, I have a problem with actually detecting financial crimes on cross-border payments, okay? Which means in the lingua, it's called correspondent banking, which means that the bank is basically serving as a, I would say, station to transfer money from one bank in one point of the world to another bank in another point of the world, which basically means to use the international, I would say, network of international payments, SWIFT or SEPA in this case, which are protocols which stay the same all across the globe. And he said, look, I have two problems. I have a rule-based system that is serving me for many years. I'm having 99.99999% of false positives. That means that I'm wasting a lot of money on backlogs, which, of alerts that actually do not produce anything which is investigation worthy, anything that I can report to a regulator, which costs me a lot of operational money, okay? Budgets.
And also it's a huge risk. Correspondent banking for a bank is
yes,
a huge risk.
I'll get to that. Second thing, he said, I'm not discovering anything which is interesting enough, okay? Now, the correspondent banking world is almost every bank, every commercial bank in the world has a correspondent banking service, okay? It means that basically they transfer money to another bank, and this bank is transferring money to another bank, originating or beneficiary, whatever it would be. So there is a direct risk to the correspondent banking, I would say, bank as itself to deal with direct banks and indirect banks. Now, in order to try even to think about the number of connections, about the matrices, from the math perspective, you have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of combinations that can exploit the correspondent bank for financial crimes. So I remember that the client told us, look, I cannot solve it with rule-based system. No way, it can't. It's not designed to do that. The only way that we can do that is through AI. And we said, great, let's do it together. And we actually started to work mutually on this project. And since then, we developed a few good detection models based on AI, specifically in this case, for the correspondent banking traffic. Now, we're taking this thing and we're very happy with. The bottom line is that we reduced the false positive by more than 90%. The alerts that we produced were much more quality, okay? It was much more accurate. And the bank basically could actually measure the relationships between between the bank itself and between direct and indirect bank. So not only we discovered the risks that were unknown before in an efficient manner, the bank could actually take decisions of who to terminate relationships with and who to actually to expand relationships with.
Here we come back to grow business.
Correct.
And we didn't mention it in this specific ThetaTalk. It will be one of the next, and I hope our listener will join it when we're going to talk specifically about our technology. But it's not that ThetaRay doesn't use any rules. It's a combination between rules, AI, machine learning without threshold, but using risk features. It's a totally new approach of dealing with these kind of threats.
Correct. I mean, to be honest, in the early years of the company, we were extremely, proud on the AI pure technology that we have. But the more we work with banks, we understood that there are things that you have to cover along with the old rules. Why? Because in certain places, the regulation basically says, okay, I want you to detect a specific scenario, basically. Let's take, for example, I would like the bank to report for any outbound, I would say, transaction above 15K euros per day, no matter what, okay? So in this case, it's solvable only by a simple rule. So what we developed along the years is basically in order to comply with these kind of regulations, which are small, but still you need it, it's a combination between the AI, which take the major part in order to be efficient and in order to find unknown phenomena. And in addition, in combination with rules, in order to cover the yes/no questions that needs to be reported.
You take us back like a few years, and I'm still fascinated about it, still learning from it. We are, and I see already, we are close to the end of our ThetaTalk. Today, we are I think dealing or serving over 100 financial institutions. We are trusted over 1 billion of end users. There is more number. We are I think over $20 trillion of transactions we are monitoring. If you take this famous crystal ball, where you see the AI technology in 5 years, 10 years bringing to the financial crime compliance?
I think that the years that we are living right now are equivalent to the late 1990s and the beginning of the 2000s, which means over there, the rule-based technology started rapidly to replace manual work of finding financial crimes. That was the evolution back then. And now we are in the same evolution right now from the rules of 25 years ago, one generation ago, to AI. Mm-hmm. So first of all, it's not a question of if the FCC or financial crime units or banks are going to use AI. Yes, they are. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of scalability. Okay. From our perspective, we are not frozen. We're not staying still. We think about the market. Now, we have separated products right now that deal with screening, customer risk assessment, transaction monitoring, and so on and so forth. However, we do think that the world is going, instead of silo-based financial crimes detection, into a holistical approach, which means each financial crime, I would say, analyst or each chief compliance officer will be extremely happy if he will have some kind of a 360 holistical approach for each one of his clients, whether if it's a retail, corporate, correspondent bank, whatever it would be. We are right now developing, and we started to implement actually holistical, I would say, products that will create 360 picture of a risk and an opportunity of each client of the bank. And this is where the company is going. This is where the market is going. And we're trying to be one step ahead.
By breaking these silos and giving... Yes, also we can talk, at least I can talk at least another hour about AI, machine learning, your experience, your background in FCC. That's all the time we have today. Shay, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your background, your insight, which are very valuable, of rethinking how banks should approach the opportunities of the potential of AI technology. Thank you to our listeners for tuning into ThetaTalk. We hope you enjoyed and you are as inspired in this discussion like I did, or I am. Join us for the next time for more on AI, machine learning, FCC, helping business grow while staying compliant. And thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next ThetaTalk.
Thank you very much for having me here.